The battle for Bitcoin to crash down to $70,000 or to hold steady with tomorrow's FOMC meeting and decision and discussion from Chairman Powell of the Fed. Is he going to be dovish, giving that bullish boost to the markets? We've got some critical charts we're going to be paying attention to today for Bitcoin, Cardano, XRP, Solana, and Link. So we got to talk about this. Everybody, let's get this going. I'm getting this retweeted out on Twitter, on Academy BitLab and Kelly Kellum pages. We're going to get into this right now. Let's talk about it. Let's do this together. Everybody, if you are listening, if you're tuned in, type anything at all in the live comments there, whether you're watching on Twitter or on X. Let's get into it. Let's get active. Let's look at these charts. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's do it. The battle of the markets continues. We're still seeing some of that blood in the short-term time action on the price for Bitcoin, still moving down into this very sharp move to the downside. Fairly sharp movement back up, rejected both times. Very sharp move to the downside. This is looking weak in this zone, and everything feels like it is on a knife's edge, preparing for tomorrow's FOMC meeting decision and what that press conference is going to render in the markets. How's everybody doing today? How you feeling? I'm streaming from home today. A couple people in the office are sick, and I also I was having a little bit of a scratchy throat this morning, so figured I'd stream from home. I think I'm going to stream from home tomorrow as well, but I bring you all the same data. It's just a different backdrop, baby. Looking at everything going on, we got a lot of stuff to cover today, so I'm going to get into it. First off, this is the feel that we're having right now. Nothing really happening. Hex having a big drop. This is not on my radar whatsoever, but this usually has very large pumps and very large dumps. But we're seeing hype. You know, a lot of that information we're seeing with the whales out there playing those whale games, doing it through Hyperliquid. I mean, it just feels muddy, right? This hourly chart, looking at the daily, we're kind of getting a mixed bag here. A couple larger pullbacks, but Bear also had some pretty big moves up. So did Pi. So it makes sense that they're having a little bit of a drawdown at the moment. But all in all, we're still looking fairly good in the market. We're still sitting here right under $2.7 trillion market cap. Who we got in here today? We got Shady Bandito, Falco, Alexandra G. We got the fam in here. Not many people commenting lately, man. We got to get these comments, the live chat flowing. I'm watching it, maybe, wanting to respond, but you guys got to get active in there. I'm trying to highlight a bunch of the stuff you guys are saying too. I see Falco saying morning, Shady Bandito saying what's up, fam. Wish I was swimming naked, but it's a little chilly and could use. That's funny. There's a poll there if you want to let me know what you're thinking. Activate yourself in that poll. FOMC tomorrow. Do you think that the market's going to pump? It's going to be a chop, no clear breakout or a breakdown. It's just going to try to wash people out both directions and not have follow through. Do you think it's going to crash, or do you think you just no idea what's going on, and so you want to click on that funny answer? Let me know in that poll there if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on X, shout out to you for being tuned in here. But when we're going through everything going on in the market right now, this is what we're paying attention to. There's we had a larger band of liquidity above us, and we still have a pretty big band, but we're getting a lot of filling out here on the 1 week chart of how much liquidity is below us. This goes right back into those levels that we've been discussing, back down into 80, back all the way down here into the 79s, back all the way down here into 78s, all the way through till it kind of eclipses right about this 78, just below 78,000. But if you come over here to the 1 year chart, you'll notice there's nowhere near as much liquidity that we saw in, later last year, where we had a lot of this liquidity that was above us that really acted as a magnet to come up. This looks a lot healthier than it used to. So we do need to take note of that. A lot of the movements that's happened with this price action going up and down and has really sort of curtailed a bit of that, those long leverage, just washout scenarios that we're seeing. Falco says, if there's one thing I know, it's that I know nothing. I feel that, and I try to remind myself that daily, try to learn as much as possible, try to always realize also that it's anybody's game right now. Now, the dominant trend, I do think, again, over over a longer period of time, is going to be up for this market. But there's a lot of things at play right now outside of just looking at the chart and going, what's the technical analysis? Where's the technical target? We could look at those things for sure, and we will. But we have to also be aware of everything going on with the new administration. In now, it might be frustrating right now in the interim, for the short time period, while we're having all these tariff games going back and forth and bringing uncertainty to the markets. And we have the FOMC meeting tomorrow, and it feels so frustrating. There's all these things outside of just, Bitcoin, good asset, buy it, go up. It's same thing with altcoins. We're seeing a lot of altcoins out here. This is a total. Let me go to the total 3 altcoins. Bleeding here, but still holding up above a key level. Above this key level here, which it already bounced on in the zone. If I had to guess, I still think that we have kind of gotten into this bottoming territory. That does not mean that we cannot have the price action on our, Bitcoin, on especially Ethereum, especially the further down that market cap list you go. Price action down in these zones, basically, boom, touching. I think this zone, anywhere in here, will likely be the bottom. I don't really expect for this to come here and lose this and go lower. If it does, I'm stacking like a mofo if that happens. I know, goes up, goes down, up, down. This is the most frustrating part of the market for when our bias is getting exposed. When you really want it to go up and you're feeling to that point where you're like, you want to give up. It's just like, that's kind of when the market tends, when the max number of people do that, that's kind of when the market flips around. So when we look at all this and we realize some of the bullish cases here, do you realize a total of 80 public companies? It's not just MicroStrategy. 80 public companies have now added Bitcoin to their holdings. This flood, there's like a giant dam of just ignorance or lack of knowledge, or just, only recently having heard about Bitcoin. Because remember, this has been on the back burner or completely out of the universe of most people, especially corporations and just the general populace, for the last 16 years, up until about June of last year, June, July, when BlackRock, no, it wasn't last year. It was the June before that, because we had the Bitcoin spot ETFs went live in January of last year. And the June and July before that is when BlackRock announced their application for a Bitcoin spot ETF. That was a seismic shift globally. BlackRock, Fidelity, VanEck, Bitwise, 21 shares. Having all those ETFs go live really substantiated Bitcoin as an asset class to be looked at. And now we have an administration in that, on the one hand, is shaking up the economy right now with everything going on with the tariffs. But as we've laid out here, and I've talked about on Twitter, on my X profile regularly, is that this is a setup actually for higher. This is a setup for longer term health, flushing out the market, bringing the scenario into focus that gives the Fed a good reason and the ability to actually talk about slowing down or cutting out the quantitative tightening, getting to a real pause to where we can actually lay out the path forward for where that quantitative easing, not even easing, but just a reduction in Fed rates is going to be. So as it feels right now, oh my God, the market's pulling back, it's crashing. I thought Trump was going to be good. We've talked about this at length, and we're also seeing the substantiation here with the huge number of banks and major banks. It's not just cryptocurrency companies, but also media companies, also energy companies, also finance companies, auto companies, healthcare companies, media companies, other companies, technology companies. And this does not even include any of the big dogs yet, like Meta, like Google, like Amazon, like Netflix, I almost said Yahoo. I don't know if they're too big anymore, but you get the point of what I'm saying. We are still at that cutting edge, the leading edge of the integration and the adoption in this market. And we're so worried right now. And it's just like, at the same time, Ethereum's dead, as everybody's talking about. It's dead, it's dead, it's dead. But then you also see Binance has increased its ETH holdings by over $600 million just in this last week alone. I do believe something big's coming. I do believe there's going to be another sort of government announcement, and we'll get into that here in a few minutes. Other integrations, other sort of, I mean, there's something is happening. And I do think that there's preparation going on, which is also why you see things like World Liberty Finance stacking in. So we have to be aware of that. And then you see Brazilian lawmakers also proposing a bill to allow employers to pay salaries in Bitcoin with at least 50% paid in Brazilian real. So we're getting integrations on different international stages, different countries out there, different corporations out there, different capital channels that are stacking. We've got more and more bullishness. We see since December, the UAE sovereign wealth funds have invested $2.5 billion in Bitcoin and crypto. Since December, so in the last 3 months, with 2.5 months, the UAE has stacked $2.5 billion into their sovereign wealth funds in Bitcoin and crypto. This is not something that's going away. This is only just beginning. So let's be patient here. And then we see, we got right here. I mean, let me make sure this is working real quick. Is this, okay, cool. So just listen to Powell here.
You simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did.
So to lend to a bank, we simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account that they have with the Fed. So it's much more akin, although not exactly the same, but it's much more akin to printing money than it is to borrowing.
You've been printing money.
Well, effectively.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally.
Flooding the system with money.
Yes, exactly.
And there's no end to your ability to do that.
There is no end to our ability to do that.
So this is where we're at right now. The people are waking up. It feels slow, but it's actually, if you look at the course of history, very quickly are waking up to what is happening with money. It's not only Jerome Powell and the Fed talking about, so it's not always when we're looking at quantitative easing, quantitative tightening. It's not also about them, are they actually physically printing money? But it's also them out there just marking up the accounts for having more than they have because they're the ones that control the accounts that are there. And then you see Elon Musk here talking specifically about this. I'm gonna put this on 2x or 1.5x speed because this is the reason why this is important is because it only makes the case stronger every day that every single person watches something like this to realize the dollars all are the false narrative. Bitcoin is the best store of value out there. It is the complete antithesis and opposite of what you see with the dollar. Where dollar has an infinite money supply, Bitcoin has a capped total amount. Therefore, the value of Bitcoin is programmed to go up by nature of money always being printed. Does that make sense? And because there's a fixed amount, the buying power that you have from that also goes up along with it. So that is just incredible. And then you look at what's Elon here talking about computers that they're finding, not just what they just talked about with the Fed, but listen to what he said here.
One of the things you told me about is what you call magic money computers at the Treasuries.
Well,
so tell us about it, because I never heard of that until you brought that up.
Okay, so you may think that the government computers all talk to each other, they synchronize, they add up what funds are going somewhere, and it's it's coherent. There's and that the numbers, for example, that you're presented as a senator, are actually the real numbers.
One would think.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're not totally wrong, but they're probably off by 5% or 10% in some cases. So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that work?
It just issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these.
Can you guys imagine if you had to pay a bill and you could just issue the payment and it deducted nothing from anywhere? Because it's not tied to any bank. It's not tied to any system that says this is the allotted amount that you can draw from. This is essentially saying that our U.S. government and all money systems that we use, in this case, we're talking specifically about America, but I'm sure this happens the world over. They have the ability to just spend money and it's not deducted from any ledger anywhere. That is complete, absolute bullshit. When we're working 9 to 5s, 9 to 9s, 9 to midnights, two jobs, one job, 3 jobs, a main job, a side job, saving, breaking our backs, and then we get taxed and audited on our taxes because we didn't declare the $600. And that matters. Why? If they're able to pay bills out of nothing, it's absolutely absurd. It actually makes me angry. But the way I get angry and I actuate myself on that frustration is I just put every single dollar I have. Anytime I get an extra dollar, I'm not going to use it for food in the next week. You know, I always keep liquid funds available for living, as we all should. But any extra dollar that I could spare, I put directly into the markets. That's what I do. That's what I do to help prevent getting trapped in the system of the false money narrative that we've been living in with US dollars. This is, and it's not just me sharing this with you all. Maybe you saw this on another stream, maybe not. Maybe this is your first time seeing it, but you know, you come over here and you realize that this has been seen 255,000 times on this clip that she shared. But there's Elon Musk shared this. Other people shared this. I mean, there's tens of millions of people that have seen this, and the world is waking up. That is the point here. I'm looking at being ahead of the majority of people that woke up. But more than anything, I want to bring people along with me. I want you to go along this path to protect your future. I'm not going to sell you on buying Bitcoin. I'm not going to sell you on the altcoin that's best for your portfolio. I can only talk about the data that I'm seeing and how corrupt the dollar system, the US dollar, the Turkish lira, or you know, the Bolivian peso, or name it, a Brazilian real. It's all fake nonsense, backed up by people that we don't believe in the things that they're doing in government. And it's like, okay, well, how can I be angry that is productive? My anger in terms of production and frustration there is to invest in markets, especially markets like Bitcoin and a particular subset of cryptos that you're going to have to determine what's right for your portfolio. But making sure that you can capture your energy spent today and have it grow in value and output for what you can spend tomorrow, next week, next year, and in 30 years from now. That's the only thing that we can do right now. And then you look at what's going on right here. And I mean, if everybody's wondering about the tariffs, we're going to be looking at some charts here in a second. We're going to be looking at some TA. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin. We're going to be looking at Ethereum, Solana, Link, Cardano, ONDO, and a couple other of these as well. So stay tuned. We're going to be getting to that in a second, but just pay attention so you understand right now when we're looking at, for instance, let's actually come over here. I'm going to go Bitcoin strategy. I made myself a big breakfast this morning, so I got the hiccups. Where are we at? S&P 500 and Bitcoin. Here we go. Okay, yeah. Bitcoin's pulling back. The markets, the broader markets are pulling back. But rather than be frustrated, let's look at what this means. And this I'm going to put this on 1.5x speed as well. But this is just important for you all to understand. It's not me out here just making conjecture. I want the markets to go up, so what Trump is doing is good with tariffs. Well, why is this? Well, let's see. Let's see what Kevin.
Every single tariff schedule, they started in the Second World War, that far back, on every product in every country has never been looked at this way. So India, Ireland, England, Canada, Mexico. If you charge 243%, which is what they charge Vermont butter when it goes into Quebec, they're going to put a reciprocal tax on it April 2nd. Even Steven. So butter coming in from Quebec is going to be taxed at 243% into Vermont. And then what happens, both sides look at each other and say, this is pretty dumb. Why are we doing this to each other? And they say, how about no tariffs?
Yes.
That's why this works, because you got to squeeze. Yeah.
April 2nd is going to be a big.
For everybody, if you're not catching on yet, people are acting like Trump is doing some terrible thing, tariffing these other countries. Like we're putting pressure on them. But the truth is, they're putting tariffs on countries that have tariffs that are much higher than the tariffs that we were charging them before. So essentially, it was costing U.S. American manufacturers, taxpayers, everything. They were tariffing our goods being sent to them. And so it's like, all right, well, we're going to tariff all your goods being sent to us as well. That's the only thing that's happening. And in reality, what Trump is literally trying to do, one, is bring the markets down a little bit because there is uncertainty. So we needed that. On the other hand, the more productive hand, okay, you don't want those tariffs. We don't want them either. Let's just bring it down. You have them at 243%. Okay, we'll charge you 243%. No, you know what? This is stupid. How about we just go to 15% each or 0%? So there's no tariff either direction. So all of this is coming into focus between now and April 2nd, when all these tariffs are supposed to really start getting live. This is bringing that pressure to the negotiation table to either drop the tariffs or shortly thereafter between, you'll see what he says here, but it's...
Today, we're going to roll out the reciprocal tariffs, but what I can tell you, and I would encourage your viewers and the public and the media to follow, going into April 2nd, and already now, we've seen some of our most imbalanced trading partners come forward and want to drop their tariffs. So by President Trump pushing forward with a tariff plan, reciprocal tariffs, if you drop yours, we'll drop ours. We are already seeing some of the worst offenders come down. April 2nd is an important day, but I would also tell everyone to look what happens from April 2nd to, say, June 30th as the other countries come down too. And President Trump's created a win-win situation here. Either the tariff barriers come down, the U.S. can export more, trade is fairer. It's always been free, but not fair. And then we, or if they don't do it, we'll take in substantial revenues.
So is there really a problem with the tariffs? Everybody, it's almost as if we had a perfectly good tool in the economic toolbox that nobody was willing to use. We got caught just playing the good guys over and over and over. And there's a saying, I remember, for those of you that don't know, I studied anthropology at Columbia University. I'm not a dumb guy. I've gone through, some of the subset of stuff I was taking was economics as well. And one of the things that is true here, there was a moral dilemma paper I had to write one time, and a lot of people are familiar with this. If somebody jumps over a bridge, somebody hands you a rope and they jump over a bridge and they're hanging from the rope, how long do you stand there holding the rope? Where your life is stopped, you can't do anything. At some point, you're going to have your own attrition because you're not getting nutrition, and you're going to, become dehydrated. At some point, you're either going to drop them or you're going to die standing there because whatever it is. The point is, there's a boundary of being able to help somebody, and there's a tenet that is you can't help people the best way until you help yourself be the best version of yourself. And America has been going down a path where we've only been helping and shaping, and we've completely ignored everything going on here in the US. So this is not a political stance. This isn't for Trump, against Trump, for Biden, against Biden. This is literally just this moral dilemma that the US is facing right now, because we have almost $37 trillion in debt. And if we really want to help these people, well, the next 10 years, 15 years, America's going to be bankrupt if we don't curtail some of the spending we're doing and don't change the shape of some of the trade agreements we have so that we can endeavor beyond and continue to be sustainable. So all in all, everything that's happening right now with the markets is all part of a plan. I truly believe it, that is going to have such a strong rebound in the near future that I'm stacking like there's no tomorrow. I'm so cash poor because I'd rather have my money in markets while they're so red, and coming back over here, looking at Bitcoin. Oh my God, it's down. It's down so far. Kelly, why is the market down? What is happening? What is happening? Well, let's zoom out. Remember, this is just up only. It's rise, retrace, continuation, retrace, continuation. And this right here, this is that next boundary before the next leg to the upside. Now, the problem with this is everybody's expecting this just to rocket ship up. But when you look at it just from this view right here, you cannot see it because I don't have the screen up. Rise, retrace, continuation, retrace, continuation. We're kind of sitting in this bubble, and you look at this. This is super bullish. This whole posture, even with the drop down into this box that we've had on here now, kind of a target, this scary target. I won't even call it a bearish target. It's almost like the bearish case of the bullish target. If we do get a washout down into this, I expect there's going to be some max loading in these zones. Like, I'm talking a lot of liquidity coming in to buy these levels, especially the whales. Remember the whale stacking that we've seen that's basically come in this zone right here? There's essentially a parabolic uptrend. When you look at wallets, large accumulation wallets, you see this trend of whales kind of stacking, and then all of a sudden, like right in here, you have this mass uptrend, not just the price. I'm talking about whales stacking into wallets over this time period right here. If this price actually comes back into the zone, I expect that we're going to see a hell of a lot more stacking as well. I do not think we're anywhere near over this cycle, especially looking at the bullish posture on the price action here. I mean, I'm not worried about this. I'm not worried about this. Now, this would probably mean a drop from here down into, the lower 70s, anywhere below 72,000. The drop into here will probably spell pretty large sell-off in the altcoin market. So you have to be aware of that. And you have to have two plans. One, you're either going to exit because, you're worried about this and you're going to plan on getting back down in here, which I don't recommend if you've already taken that large dip that you've seen. What dip am I talking about? And this is how I know a lot of you have taken major dips. I have altcoins. A lot of my altcoins are down significantly over the last 3 months. But when you come over here and you come to cryptocurrencies here on CoinMarketCap, whereas the Altcoin Season Index, this is what we're looking at. This is altcoin market in the last 90 days. The top 100 coins, what do we see? Look at all this bleeding, minus 72%, minus 72%, 70%, 69%, 69, 68. I mean, these are the altcoin market has basically been in a bear market, and the Bitcoin posture is still very bullish. So it's leading everybody to be very, very, very confused in this market. I thought I finally learned this cycle and I finally got a mode and I was going to make money. Well, you very likely still will, but it all takes conviction and strategy. You have to be patient right now with what's going on in this market because of these things. But all this is a setup for what's to come. And then you see the Department of Defense might be starting to mine Bitcoin. We're seeing, basically big things coming from Michael Saylor. We see Matthew Pines. This is a room where it happened. What happened? When you think the show's over, but it's really just beginning. I mean, there's some coded meshes happening here. Give it 3 weeks, and it should become more obvious. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because we are really starting to integrate the infrastructure of blockchain, Bitcoin, and the technologies therein. Not just Bitcoin, but also XRP and Solana and Cardano and Chainlink. I think Chainlink is going to be one of those coins that are projects in ways that it gets integrated is going to shock people and how widely utilized it's going to end up becoming. It's going to be very good for that project. And then you see things like this. The Bitcoin cycle. This Bitcoin cycle, we have largely been battling a fiat, flat monetary cycle. So we had a large impulse up and then all the way across here. Look at this U.S. liquidity. This is the black. Liquidity has just kind of been down and flat as the price has been pushing up. But we're starting to see the U.S. liquidity, and it's not just, the M2. It's actually liquidity in the markets. This is actually starting to tick up here. Now look at this. Large influx of liquidity and sell-off. Price action went sideways about 140, 160 days here. But once it started pushing up, this led the move here. This starting to lead the move for what we're going to see in Bitcoin and the alts as well. And then the question here about this whole, the big whale games going on. Essentially what Josh Mandel is talking about is essentially this: liquidation triggered Bitcoin rally bomb, essentially going in, taking long positions, but also setting up a huge amount of shorts on leverage. This is what most people don't realize. Leverage is not, hey, I want to go make a bunch of money. Let me go 30x long. This person's 40x short. So is he only shorting the market? Most people don't realize leveraged positions in markets are actually a financial risk mechanism for traders and investors to use. Hedge funds use them a lot, where they go long in size on spot or with very low leverage, like 1.5 to 2x, but then they go short with a very substantially smaller amount of money, but they make it sort of just slightly less than equal weight on 20x or 30x, so they can capture the narrative whichever direction it goes and not have to, say they have 100 million. They could put 90 million long and 10 million short and put the 10 million on 10x leverage. Essentially, they're net even regardless of the direction the price goes. So it is a financial risk management mechanism larger players use. All of us degens that are here, we're trying to catch up with people with a lot of money. So we're going 37x long every time we see a hammer candle. It's like, no, we gotta be a little bit more patient. But if this is a case where somebody's in the market actually setting a basically liquidation bomb that they're actually already long on, that could be incredible if that were to happen. But this is why we need to be careful about just following these narratives about, oh my God, there's somebody that's $400 million short. Well, they're probably about, substantially smaller amount that in the market. But what does Fred Ho says the tariffs that Canada put, it's because of regulations that we have to make a more stable price of milk and eggs. We don't just we don't just laud U.S. dairy because of regulations that Canadian farmers respect. I get what you're saying. I think, however, hopefully to that point, also remember, we do have RFK in the office now. And I will agree. There's a lot of ridiculous, misappropriations of data in terms of health and regulations for food production here in the U.S. I mean, even a bag of Cheetos in the U.S. has probably like 20 ingredients that are not even allowed in Europe, right? We need to have better food in the U.S. for sure. Yeah. So, So let's get back to the markets. I want to get through this. We got some cool charts to look at here. So here we go. The Balls of Steel whale closes his $525 million position, banking $9 million in profits, 2%. Green candle confirmed and coming. This is from OG General. Go give him a follow. Great. This guy trades in size. And he's got a lot of great content out there. Give him a follow at the OG_General. Then we got, where is this right here? My case for the Bitcoin cycle is that there is no cycle. What does that mean? The lines between bull and bear will become blurred and folks will lose sight of when the cycle started and when it ended. Pattern recognition based on previous cycle won't be as clear cut. I agree with this. As these bigger market players come in, we get scheduled buying from nation states as that starts happening. We see the sovereign wealth funds getting stacked in UAE, strategic Bitcoin reserve here in the US, and the states, 33 states working on bills. We got, Brazil's now going to be allowing their people to pay their workers in Bitcoin and their Brazilian real. You got Bhutan, you got India I would expect to be very close behind the US on some sort of Bitcoin reserve. What is coming and the buying pressures that are therein, coupled with the speculation about what that's going to mean, is going to be creating these intermediary large market pumps and large market pullbacks. But remember, when we go back on these charts, when we zoom out and we come back to 2017 and realize that there was 11 moves of 15% or more to the downside. 15% is not that much. Great. So 8 of those 11 moves were 30% to 40% moves to the downside. Here. And what we've just seen, right, with what we just had with this move, we're still basically very clearly in the same structure that we've been. We sit there basically right about 29-30% move to the downside. So nothing's out of context yet. We saw this sort of intermediary cycle here with the bull push, bear, but then the economic catastrophe. And then we had to go sideways before we could move up. And remember, this 49 days after this move, we still haven't hit a bottom here. This would have been 49 days if this were that move here. We've had a couple more days since, so this might go all the way into like May, let's say May 5th. And that measurement would be when the price it would be when the price not only went sideways, but from that going sidewaysness to breaking past a previous range high there. Now, is that going to play out? I don't know. But looking at this, center line structure here that this is bounced off of basically perfectly twice now, we're sitting here right in sort of no man's land, waiting for the decision about if we're going to have more hardship, because the discussion tomorrow at the FOMC meeting is not dovish. They're not talking about what the rate cut plan is going to be, or that we can start even having the discussion, then the markets are going to sell off. And now that's terrible. It just might mean that we're delayed a little longer before we get that bigger run, which means we might be getting that move down into this, first the 72 to 74K level is a very big level. If we lose this, then I'm looking for levels down here, $62,000. Now, on the flip side of that, if the price action, gets a little bit buoyed tomorrow and we actually push up and we break this level right here, 85, basically 85.1, 85.2, I'm looking at the price right over here as my mouse moves. If we can clear this level, then the next level directly above that we have to watch for is right in here, and potentially some chopping here before we come out, do some work and get the move. But this 82 level and then this level here about 87 is a little bit of, it's not as important as this horizontal level right here, because all of these lows and these rejections here, lows here, rejection here. So because of that, this is really the area we want to watch. Even if this price, oh my God, this is so bullish. Oh my God, guys, this could still get rejected and come down. So we're going to need to pay attention between now and April 15th, but really between now and April 2nd, about as these news articles come across the board of, tariffs getting adjusted or coming back in line, or whatever it is, all the way up until April 2nd, how much pressure that might put on the market. It's going to also, I think, somewhat depend on what that conversation is tomorrow. Now, looking back at this, remember, corporations are stacking. I know I'm stacking. We got, some confusion in the markets. And I just remind everybody, hope, AKA the rumor, drives over pricing. So price gets above where it really should be because everybody's buying the hope. And then you get the news or the event that tends to have the sell the news thing. People take profits out of that because the hype that was driving it is gone. It doesn't mean that thing's not going to follow through. A perfect case of that was the ETF pump up into the approval, and the day it launched, and we sold off for like 13 days. Sell the news, buy the rumor, sell the news. And then what happens? So some take profits happen. Others panic because there's a little bit of a sell-off because some people took some profits. And then you get that panic dropping in market as the bulls find and defend the appropriate floor. And it's only determined once you see that the price actually come down and the bulls start to defend it before you get that solid bounce. Bitcoin and some crypto will work their way through cycles over and over. Bitcoin and some crypto will work their way up through cycles of overpricing and underpricing. This is what we're trying to figure out. When things are getting overpriced, let's make sure we're taking profits. When things are getting underpriced, let's make sure we're layering in. Patience prevails to profits. Most will lose money, unfortunately. Rinse, repeat, stack. This is what we're dealing with right now. And this is what all these whales right now are doing. Is this right here. God dang it. There we go. I don't want to hear the voice, but you can see this is what the whales are dealing with right now, and retail at the same time. This is what's happening. This is what's happening in the market. Tricked you, bitch. That's what's happening in these liquidity pools. Like when you're looking at I think I already closed it. When you're looking at the liquidation levels, and especially if you're down here on like the 12-hour, if you are watching this throughout the day on the 12-hour, and you'll see as the price moves up, you'll see areas get a lot more yellow, or you can see a lot of orders come in down here, and then price will start to move close to that, and then they'll remove that and flush out people on their convictions. These markets are ripe because there's so much high emotion about the expectation about where this market is going. So it's ripe for you to be exploited if you don't have a plan. So now with that being said, I think we got Chainlink presenting at Chainlink is presenting the regulatory roadmap for 2025 at the DC Blockchain Summit happening on March 26th. Chainlink, let me read that again. Chainlink is presenting the regulatory roadmap for 2025 at the Washington, D.C. Blockchain Summit happening March 26th. Makes you wonder why Link gets to present about regulations. Remember I talked about some integrations that were going to happen there? And then we look at what's going on in the market. Let's go ahead and reload this. There we go. We are a little bit undervalued here based on what we're looking at from the cycle low to where we're at in the cycle right now. But we've been pretty much keeping in line. When we go above, we come back to the median. Okay, now we've gone below. We're going to come back to the median, back up somewhere in this region. We got it. All we can do is keep our eyes on it because I think things are getting excited. And this is that federal funds rate that we're going to be discussing tomorrow at the FOMC meeting. 2 p.m. is the FOMC meeting is happening today and tomorrow. We get the decision at 2 p.m. There's not going to be a rate cut. That's not going to be. If there is a rate cut, markets go absolutely moonshot. But it's a astronomically low probability we get a rate cut tomorrow. If we did, that would set the markets absolutely on bullish fire. What we're looking for is the press conference at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow with Jerome Powell when he alludes to what they talked about and how they feel about the data that came out. If he keeps saying we have a lot more work to do, that's not good. If he says it looks like the numbers are coming online and we can start having meaningful discussions about, rate cuts and, these sorts of things, that's dovish, and the markets will price in the coming rate cuts that are come here in the near future. But getting back over here, let's go through it. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum is just, it's hard to even call where a bottom would be for Ethereum, but it's interesting that this is right in this bar. Now, why did I put this bar here? I did not put this here for this. This bar has been here for months. I put this bar here. I don't even remember. It's somewhere in here. I don't even remember where, but look at where the price is. If you can't figure out where price is going to go, you zoom out on the chart, zoom out of the 1 hour, out of the 4 hour, out of the 8 hour, go to the daily, go to the 3 daily, and you look at where there's been a lot of price interactivity. So what do we see? We see this area reject, this area bounce, this area chop, this area reject, this area kind of chop right inside and then reject. This area, once it's boom. And then now look at this. We've come right back to the area that a lot of price interactivity happened. So now if this area is lost, the next level I'm looking at is going to be right here. Down to about, was that 14, basically around the $1,500 mark, right at $1,500, which is this next range low. But this starts getting to the point where it's like, this is just max blood in Ethereum. If this is really coming down to these zones, I think there's a likelihood if we get dovish tomorrow that we're essentially potentially bottoming here in Ethereum. If we get not a dovish discussion tomorrow, then we do get that move down to 1,400, potentially even down lower, down to 12. Was that 1283? But this is if the markets are just bleeding and we're getting a big correction. I still think that we're in line with the altcoins in general. It's coming down to, guys, this is just such a beautiful setup. If we get the reversal that I feel like the market is kind of screaming for. XRP, it's just been sitting in this falling channel here, which essentially is just sideways price action here. Sideways range with one big deviation up, one big deviation down. Sideways price action. In this case, we have the falling channel. It's, if this were to sell off, this is where I'd be looking. I'd be looking at the $1.56 range. $1.55, $1.56. But in order to do that, the price action would need to not only reject here, come down and lose this $1.75 zone. If the market sees a broader, just large drawdown, that's when I see this area right here. This is a golden pocket. If we lose that, then we're coming down here to the $1.10 range. We got it level by level. It's hard to look at just the money flow and the stochastics and the RSI on a day like today going into tomorrow, because the discussion points tomorrow are going to be the harbinger of bearishness or the arbiters of bullish truth and kind of starting to release stuff to start moving to the upside. So be patient here. Solana. Somebody said, why is it selling off? Well, it did a 35x. Did a 35x from down here. Oops. God dang it. There we go. That is, 30, 36, 35x. Boom. This is a normal cycle here. If we start losing this zone right here, $90, $80 to $90, if we lose this range, then the market's probably in a larger drawdown, just overall. I think this is more of just the sell-off. We had a lot of impulse of overpricing that came in here with the Trump coin launch that brought so much attention to Solana, because people had to buy Solana in order to get Trump coin, right? And there's a lot of people that came into the market that have never been in the market to buy Trump coin, so they had to buy Solana. So you see how these things played out? Same thing with ETH. Why did ETH do so well in the ICO days? Because a lot of coins you had to have ETH or Bitcoin to get those other coins. Now, what we're seeing this cycle is the meme craze has happened. In order to get those memes, you had to have Solana. So there's been some overpricing and some rebalancing of that. And this sell-off, I mean, information came right up to the previous range high, came down. This is about a 60% move to the downside, if I'm not correct. Yeah, 61, 62%. So we're starting to get into that territory now where if you like Solana at 295, what the hell are you worried about at 123? We're coming right down into the range, lows here, and this rejection. If this area is lost, I would move this a bit. Ooh, let me move this. I would move this to about right in here. If this is lost, I'd be looking about the $96 to $90 range down in here. Again, if the markets have a bigger pullback, then I'm looking at the target down here. Okay, we have kind of an intermediary target right here, right at the $100, and the next level down about the $85 mark. But if we're able to have the bullish buoy tomorrow from the discussion from Powell, finding support in here would make for a beautiful W formation here. The breaking out of this zone is the first step, basically above 141. The next step here is about 161. The next step here is about 181. So right now, everybody's on a razor's edge while we're getting some of the most bullish news in history, but we're having a little bit of economic pressure right now, which is giving you the opportunity to stack in. Chainlink as well. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's almost like a falling channel. I just noticed that. Oops. Falling, kind of a falling, ugly falling channel there, but yeah. So we're watching for this. This is ultimately where I'm watching. If this does drop, I'd be watching down in the $10.47, $10.50 range down in here. But what I'd prefer to happen, I mean, if I was super long term, I'd want that to happen. But I'm ready for this market to reverse, right? I'm ready for this market to reverse. So I think the market's getting to that point too. All the tariff discussions, all that, I think that's going to start to come in line a bit. And if not, then we have 2 or 3 more months of frustrating times, but also 3 or 4 more months to stack into these prices. Then we got Cardano. I mean, falling channel, broke out bullish, came back down, tested this. Currently, nothing has happened on Cardano. Currently, what you see here, oh my God, why'd it dump? In reality, what you're seeing is a breakout and a retest of the level that it broke out from. A little bit of consolidation here for what the bullish or bearish winds are going to be. And then from here, we're going to get that decision very soon. If we do break down, I'd be looking back down here at 62 cents. I don't really think this will fall through because of the upcoming upgrades with Cardano and Midnight and Bitcoin DeFi on Cardano and transactions. And there's a lot of stuff going on with Cardano and some of the stuff that mentions from the SEC of Cardano, Solana, XRP about their different use cases that could be implemented into government use cases. All of this is yet to realize. It's not just if you like it or not. That is putting these technologies on the map of people that were otherwise counting crypto and blockchain out for the last many years. Now we're getting world leaders, world governments, top level tech representatives, and all kind of different players that are talking about these things being the means and mechanisms that they could offer within basically upgrading the infrastructure technology that we have that's going to be the new rails of the future. So Cardano, it's just been sideways. Up, down, it's basically like a heartbeat right in here, waiting for, are we going to take that breath and come back to life and work our way up? Or do we have, a few more weeks into maybe even the end of May, into April, of some, bleeding before we get that move? I think tomorrow is the thing that we're all paying attention to. So let's pay attention to that. ONDO also, falling channel is just kind of like, these tend to break bullish. But what we've seen more than not in this market, when these things are meant to break bullish, they come down, break bearish, make you think it's all invalidated, come back in, break bullish, make you back in, come back, wash you out, chop sideways, and then make the move. So we got to be a little bit patient here. ONDO's doing some major things with some major integrations. So I know I'm stacking into this as this falls. 81 cents, man. I need to get my contracts paid earlier this week so I can drop some money in the market, baby. But we just got to be patient, guys. Let me see who is online right now. Who should we send to? Do you guys have any streamers that you like that we should send to. Drew is out sick today, so I can't send it over to him. Let me see. Crypto Face is live. Is he live? No, it's not live. Let me refresh that page. Let's see. Let's go to, is the moon live? Let's go show some love to the moon.
So ideally you want to be buying
let's
into
go
Bitcoin
show some
today.
love to the moon. I'm going to send you guys there. Everybody drop in. I'm going to redirect the stream. You can just stay here as this ends, or you can go there now. This is, let me go to that stream. This is a link.
Search
Say the
trends are at
BitLab
all-time highs.
Academy family.
That is not when
here.
you want to be buying Bitcoin. You want to be buying Bitcoin
BitLab
right now when there's
BitLab
34
Academy
fear,
families here.
which there is.
Go over
okay?
there, show some love. Say Kelly Kellum said, what's up? Let's go drop some love on their stream. I'm trying to, spread the love a little bit out to different creators in the space. And this is Crypto Kid here on the Mood channel. He's great. But let's all head over there, show some love. But that's all I got today, everybody. Shout out to every one of you that's sticking with us through all of this this market. And don't sell your dog. Absolutely not. I'm not selling any dog. I'm just taking little stacking in here and there as I get money available. Love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Adios. Adios, muchachos.